Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we have a very full episode this week.
We do.
I am not going to lie. It's going to be some ups and some downs, some lefts and some rights. But we're going to be going over, I think, a grand total of 6 and a half haunt visits.
Yeah, 6.5, 6 1/4, something like
that. Haunt visits that we have done since the last time we spoke to you. So yeah, we've got a lot to get in this episode. So I just want to take a moment real fast and remind you, hit us up at all the places we exist. We're at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/Haunt Weekly, and of course wherever you get your finer podcasts from. We're in all the places. We work pretty hard on that. Now, we don't really have show notes this week,
No.
to be honest with you. And since we're really, really pressed for time and we have a lot we want to talk about, we're not doing the usual question of the week.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come up with one. We'll resume the question of the week cycle next time. But with haunt season and everything else, we got a lot to get through. We're not going to be stalling for time. So real fast, we do want to do conference reminders, just because we do have some neat conferences coming up. And on that end, let's take a look at what's coming up this week.
All right. Son of Monsterpalooza is October 14th in Burbank, California. 14th through the 16th, sorry. And monsterpalooza.com/fall for their info.
All right. November 11th and 12th in Nashville, Tennessee is the Legendary Haunt Tour. They'll be visiting Nashville Nightmare, The Slaughterhouse, Devil's Dungeon, and Miller's Thrillers Legendary Haunt Tour. 2 T's there. Watch out.com for more information.
Creep It Real Festive is 11/25 through 11/26 in Santa Ana, California. It'll be at the Heritage Museum of Orange County, and it is
at
creepitrealoc.com for info.
And finally, on the January 10th through the 12th in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's a Halloween party, Expo. It'll be at the Mirage. Hundreds of vendors. You must have a qualified business account. This is not open to the public. This is typically for people who want to do wholesale. You can get more info and see if you qualify at HalloweenPartyExpo.com. They do have a lot of great costumes and other things. And maybe some things to sell at your haunt, too.
Yeah.
Some interesting ideas there. All right. Well, we have been extremely busy, both on our haunt.
Yes.
And going to haunts. So we'll start off by what we did with our haunt since we last spoke. And basically what we did is we finished the light display.
Finished the light display, and most of the clean out is now done too.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird feeling having a haunt that is pretty much done before you start work, really.
Yeah.
But it did need a lot of cleaning, and I know you've been very busy on the cleaning side.
Mm-hmm.
We both have been working our ass off on the yard display and trying to make that.
Yes.
And I've got to say, this has been a very educational year on the yard display.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have learned a great deal.
We did a whole different setup this year.
Yeah. I think we mentioned last time that other than the skeletons, some of the skeletons and the pumpkins, everything in the yard is new.
Yeah.
Has never been used by us in this display.
Right.
And that is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All new lights, all new structure for both the skeleton haunted house and for the tunnel.
Yeah.
All new methods of supporting skeletons. Everything is new. And part of the reason it took so long is because there was so much newness there. We had to, create a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, previous years we've just assembled those metal poles. This year we had to cut and prepare everything.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been absolutely crazy, but I think the results are much, much better. We're going to be posting photos from the display, both here and on the Bernie Baxter page over the next few weeks. So Facebook.com/Haunt Weekly or Facebook.com/Bernie Baxter Haunt to see those photos as they go live.
Yes, and thank you for those of you who have followed, commented, and liked my monstrosity for this year.
Yes, the monstrosity definitely is worth a special call out because every year in the display, you try to do something interesting and amusing with the bits and bobs of broken skeleton bits.
Right.
And I really do wish that some manufacturer would step up and make more durable skeletons for yards.
Yeah. But as long as they break, I might as well have fun with them.
Yeah. And this year you made, I think it's about 8 feet tall, multi-assed, multi-headed.
Yeah.
Creature. And you told me you were going for the vibe of something from the Spooky Scary Skeletons animated video.
Yeah.
Back when they all got meshed together and
when they're trying to run for the tomb.
Yeah, they run to get back at night, basically. Yeah. And they all collide and become this weird hybrid of all of them.
Yeah.
And I think you achieved that in a pretty epic way. I really enjoyed it. It looks good, and it's gotten a lot of attraction, a lot of attention, both on our Facebook and Bernie Baxter's Facebook and your Facebook.
Yeah.
So all in all, busy. Crazy work there, but I think we're in a pretty good place in terms of our haunt and being ready. We're still recruiting some actors. We're still bringing some people on board.
Right.
One of the problems, I'm sure every haunt, especially home haunters, know this, is you get 1 million people who say they want to do it and they're excited to do it, and only the tiniest % will actually ever turn up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm expecting maybe one new person this year.
Yeah. Luckily, the haunt is designed in such a way that we do not need that many people on the inside.
Yeah.
We did a good job designing for multiple scares, something we always do. But this year in particular, I think it was a good job. So I am excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have photos from inside the haunt, too, on Haunt Weekly. So stay tuned. Facebook.com/Haunt Weekly. We're using the Facebook page for the photos. We don't put that much other than the episodes on Twitter. So, lots of neat stuff coming up. All right. So, the reason we're all here is to talk about haunt visits. We have 6.5 to discuss, and the half is something we forgot to discuss.
Yeah, so we've got to go back in time a little bit.
Yeah. We visited New Orleans Nightmare. We forgot to mention we had done Phobia, their secondary attraction. Their lights out blindfolded attraction.
Right.
Interestingly, this is the second time we bought tickets for it. 1 year we bought tickets for it, and we knew it was an attraction only one group at a time could go into. And when we went to go into it, there was 6 groups deep. Yeah. And we were I think we were going to another attraction, and we just didn't have time to wait. Right. And so we just kind of said, sorry, we'll eat those $10 tickets and move on. So we didn't do it that year. We did it this year, though. We were able to do it this year, and it's always so hard to talk about blindfolded attractions.
Yeah. It was advertised as a dark attraction, not a blindfold attraction.
Yeah, and it was a sensory overload, I think was the exact terms.
Yeah. And which, when you take away one sense, it kind of is like what's the opposite of sensory overload?
Yeah. I don't know. I think their whole point is we're taking away your sight so that your other senses are way heightened, but the only real senses you use in that are touch and hearing.
Yeah, well,
and not even that much hearing.
So I think that we didn't get what the banging on the wall meant.
No, I still don't know what that meant.
I think it meant we were getting closer to what we were supposed to get to. And the water was like spraying a cat when you did something wrong.
Yeah, I think we did figure out because there's an actor in the scene with you.
Yeah.
And they're actively spraying water on you. And I believe it's as you mess up. Yeah. Because the idea is you go in, you find your way into this room. And from there you have to find a key, open up a lock, and then find your way out.
Mhm.
So basically, it's like two labyrinths. They're not really mazes in the strictest sense of the word.
No,
Not
there's
really much
been
in the way
one
dead
wrong
ends.
turn you found.
Yeah, but it was only like for a foot or two. It wasn't
Yeah.
very much a wrong turn.
Yeah. And you
Um,
have 6 minutes to get out.
yeah, and I'm never particularly fond of blindfolded attractions or because it feels like you're paying money to go through a haunt that no one has to decorate.
Yeah.
Like for all I know, that haunt could have been like Candyland colored, and because we had, but they did actually have a great way of doing the blindfolds. They had these special like post surgery goggles,
Right.
Blacked out, completely blacked out. I thought that was actually a really good way of handling the blindfold rather than tying a blindfold or having to put a hood over you or something like that. That was actually much more comfortable. A.
It was.
And B. It really did a good job blocking out the light.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to admit. But anyways, it was all right. I mean, we left. I don't know about you, but I left soaked. I've been on water rides at amusement parks with less wet than that. Because these are not like light misting sprays. These are full jets of water you're getting hit with. And I was wearing a thin shirt that actually left me a little cold. I'm not gonna.
Oh, okay. So you must have done lots of things wrong.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
Or either that, or I was just in the path of the sprayer. I might have been between.
I'm not gonna give it away, but there was one touch that did get the bug on my skin reaction, like genuine reaction from me in there. Which,
Yeah, we're not gonna. I mean, everything we've told you right now, you hear in the description of what to do.
Yeah.
We haven't spoiled anything.
No.
And being careful not to. If you want to do it, it's $10. It's 6 minutes. It's a way to extend your time there a little bit. I don't know.
It's something different for the region.
Nobody
else has it.
I'll agree with that. That is very true.
I could say that.
It's part escape. It's mostly an escape room, realistically. It's not really a haunted attraction as much as I think of it as a blindfolded escape room with one puzzle.
Yeah.
Realistically. And the puzzle, isn't that... We had no trouble. And I think the group before us had no trouble. It seems to be that most people do solve it. I don't know what the percentages are.
No.
But I do seem to think that most people would have no difficulty with it. As long as you keep your wits about you. I don't particularly find being blindfolded or put in situations where I can't see very scary. Mm-hmm. I find it more frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to be coming up a lot in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
For reasons we'll get into.
All right. So that
ends
that. Now we're to this week.
Yeah, this week.
This past week.
We started at Thursday at the 13th gate.
Yes.
And I have no notes. It was.
So I have a few.
Okay. Well, no, I mean I really do, but I have very few criticisms or anything like that. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so for the first time ever, there were scenes in the 13th gate that were too dark to see.
Yeah.
Because the 13th gate, it is immaculately decorated. Like, that is what they're known for, is movie quality sets, like actual been in movies.
Yeah, and part of their side business is being a set for movies.
Yeah. So that was disappointing that there were some really dark areas, because I know that there was decor in there. Yeah,
the reputation of the 13th gate has always been a haunt that is very immaculately decorated, very beautiful, very immersive, but maybe not super duper scary.
Yeah.
And they've been working on the not being super scary a lot over the past years. They started that pre-pandemic.
Right.
They've made a lot of progress in that area pre-pandemic, and we'll talk more, but they've also continued that work, and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
What I found very interesting, though, going to the 13th gate was because if we count new in a haunted house as being something that was torn out and rebuilt completely from scratch.
Yeah.
Totally new, totally changed everything. Maybe 25 to 33% was new. Somewhere in that range. But if you add in all of the rooms that were rearranged, repurposed, shifted around, moved a little bit, that number bumps well over half, I think.
Yeah.
And then in rooms that had not physically changed, They changed the way the room works with the actors. The actors would come out from a different direction, different stunt, different character maybe would be in there.
Yeah.
And it still felt new. And the result of that was the 13th Gate felt almost completely new. They even have redone the elevators.
Yeah.
And mercifully, I would like to add, the elevators do not hurt our backs.
Yes, I was braced for impact, and it didn't happen. I was so happy.
Yeah, and I've got to say, like, it still feels very good.
Yeah, it
still
does.
Feels very good, very realistic. But, yeah, they no longer, because it used to be quite a jolt, especially on the coming down part.
Yeah.
And now that is not there. So, I don't know. I don't feel like, it used to be we would walk out of the elevators, clutching our backs and our knees and whatnot, and going,
yeah,
a little bit. We need a minute to shake it
we're
off.
Old.
Yeah, we're old, and that's going to come up a lot.
Yeah,
in this episode too, we'll be discussing that a lot. But yeah, there was so much. This was a case study in how you can make a haunted attraction feel new, even if you are limited in how much you can change, and how you can make a room that is the same. Because, like, one example is, I'm pretty sure there was a room that previously in the old-timey England section, which is the front part of it, there was a room that I'm pretty sure was the coroner/autopsy room. This time around was repurposed for a medical patient with who had his limb cut off and was spraying a fine mist of quote-unquote blood.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the same room. If not, they were very, very close.
Yeah.
But by changing what was in the room, it felt completely new. It was not something I'd seen. They managed to make that scene feel completely new without removing a single panel. And I think that's really a great thing to see that they were doing. They have done immaculate work with their acting. Like we talked about, like at New Orleans Nightmare, there was all the get outs and fresh meats and all that.
Right.
We only heard fresh meat, I think, once, and it was part of a larger sentence, and it was to a butcher, so
yeah,
I've got to allow it.
Yeah.
Hey, Wilbur, we've got some fresh
that
meat, I think was it.
At least makes sense.
Yeah, at least it makes canonical sense. And, nobody told us to, quote-unquote, get out.
No.
Nobody told us to
hurry
up. Or, or that were fresh meat, or, or boo.
Yeah.
God help us, boo. There was no boo.
No.
Everybody did a great job in the acting. I can tell they've been putting some real focus on actor training and actor coaching because it was amazingly consistent.
They've always had consistent acting.
Yeah, they have.
They really have.
And what's changed in recent years is the number of actors.
Yeah.
They've really lifted their ranks.
Right.
Very significantly. And it's pretty impressive stuff they've done. So yeah, actor coaching they do there is great. I really walk away without much to say as far as criticism goes. We went there on the Thursday. In fact, it was the first Thursday they were open, so it was very dead.
Yeah. Yeah, there was not a line to get in. And that's one of the secrets that if you're going to visit haunts, try to go on a Thursday.
Try to go on an off night, as off of a night as you can get.
Yeah. Thursdays and Sundays work great, usually.
Yeah, Thursdays and Sundays are great. Earlier in season, the better.
Yeah.
Because that traffic only increases with time. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. If I were going to offer I think the weakest section at 13th Gate now has got to be the pirate ship section, and I hate saying that because we're in a room with like several pirate flags on the wall, and I've always had a fascination with the golden age of piracy, so to speak. But I think that section comes across as just wooden walls and wooden crates that you're going around. There isn't much in the way of actors and interaction, and the set itself isn't that impressive. But that...
I don't know. I think the actual ship part is impressive.
Oh, yeah, the outside of the ship, when you're looking at that, is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, the outside of the ship, like, you could look... It looks like you could go up there. I'm pretty sure you can. Not us, not customers, but,
Well, the outside of the ship is very impressive. That's one of those jaw-dropping moments.
Yeah.
But when you're actually inside the ship...
Right.
It
looks like inside of a ship, which is boring.
Yeah, but it's boring. Yeah, exactly. You can't fault the realism.
No.
But But yeah, it doesn't, and it really stands out against the rest of the 13th Gate.
Yeah.
But still, it's not the Beehive. I mean, mercifully.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed the 13th Gate. I had a great time. Like I said, we went on a Thursday. There was no line at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely crazy. I think they were steady.
Yeah.
As in they had customers going through.
Yeah, there were about 12 people before us that
we
saw.
But to say that there was only 12 people that we saw in line at the 13th Gate is nuts. You know, the famous haunt where the lines wrap around the block.
It is, because normally we get an escort in.
Yeah. Normally we have to.
Yeah. Because there's like 500 people or something.
So yeah, we still have to hit Rise and Mortuary locally. We're planning on doing at least one of those next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll be doing both.
Mm-hmm.
Have to look at the calendar. But yeah, we still got to do those. We will do them. But
and we're doing another new local Decomposed.
Yeah, in Homa. For those who don't know New Orleans area geography, it's about an hour west of here.
Mm-hmm.
It's toward Baton Rouge, but well south of it.
Yeah.
It's truly swampland out there.
Yeah.
Well and truly swampland. But yeah, our 13th Gate was just an incredible experience, and I actually kind of feel bad for the haunts that came after, because...
So you're saying we should move the 13th Gate trip to later in the season?
Or do it like really early in the season so that we can put space between it. Because, I mean, we did the 13th Gate, and less than 24 hours later, we were at another haunt.
We were.
And that haunt was Terror on the Coast in Gulfport, Mississippi. Oh, boy.
We had not been here in several years.
Yeah.
But it was not a new to us haunt.
Yeah, we have been to this haunt once before. We went several years ago. Chris Lovely was looking up the year we went. So she'll report back in a second. When we went, there was a lot that left us with a bad taste in our mouth about that haunt.
2016.
2016, so it's been 6 years. Okay, interesting. Only 2 of those pandemic-induced.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason... I think that was their second year, according to the banners they had hung up. But the takeaway from it was Terror on the Coast was advertised as this huge 100,000 square foot haunt. We ended up waiting in an incredibly long line due to some very, very nasty...
This is the first visit.
First visit, yeah. 2016 visit. Commentary on how things have changed coming in a minute.
Yeah.
Bear with us.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, make it clear. That's a good point. So we ended up in line for over 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then when we finally got to go in, it was only a 10-minute-ish haunt.
Yeah.
It was very, very short. And, you know, it was so short that when it opened up and we got dumped outside, I thought we were continuing to a trail haunt.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, trail portion. This will be fun. No. The tire is you're walking back to your car.
Yeah.
So anyways, this time around, they definitely put some work in trying to improve their front and back and after house experiences.
Yes, and there is now a cut through from the end back to where the cars are, so that it doesn't feel like a trail hunt.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're getting lost in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Walking in, I really liked that first area they had. Mm-hmm. Where they had a bar, they had a snack food place.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, a photo op.
Yeah.
Various other odds and ends where you can
tiny jump scare.
A tiny little jump scare. You can hang out and do things.
Yeah.
And sort of just mill around in this area. I really liked it. And personally, I'd like to see them go all in on this. Mm-hmm. Because once you make the decision to get in line, mm-hmm. that's when the front of house experience really starts to erode.
Yeah.
Because this is when you get shoved into the cattle gate system. And for us, we had another haunt visit after this, so we couldn't take the risk of being stuck in line for 90 minutes again.
Right.
I don't think we would have been. I think it would have been a much shorter wait this go around.
Yeah, but we weren't chancing it.
We couldn't risk it. So we got Fast Pass this time around. Mm-hmm. And first thing that was interesting was we got bracelets for Fast Pass. I think both regular customers and Fast Pass customers get bracelets, but they're color coded. And then we were asked to turn the bracelets in.
Yeah, as you go into the haunt, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I mean, I
those are usually like really cheap.
Yeah, and I think the reason they did that was to prevent people from going back through multiple times on one band. But you can scan the ticket.
Yeah.
You know, the ticket should be what prevents that. But anyways, neither here nor there. They made us give the bracelets back, which just felt weird. But the problem I had, and look, I don't want to be an old fogey and talk about kids and their darn music too loud. But here's the deal. I have eustachian tube disorder. I have significant hearing loss just naturally.
Yeah.
There are times I struggle to hear just regular conversation. And I would like to protect the hearing that I have. And I've got now one of the modern Apple Watches that has the noise indication telling me what the decibel levels are. And if, I need to not be in that space for very long. And the thing is, it tripped in most of the haunts we went through at least once when someone screamed really loud or like that. And then that's not necessarily a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a bit concerned in Terror on the Coast because since we were in the Fast Pass line, we were right up against the stage. Mm-hmm. Well, the stage is also where the speakers are, where they blare the music for the entire room.
Yeah.
And you can tell they have it at a volume where it's designed that people on the opposite side of that space can hear the music very clearly, but they have to make it absolutely bone-crushing, deafening right by the speakers to do it. It's like being in front of the speakers at a big rock concert.
Right.
And yeah, I got some serious warnings, and we were in that space for about 30 minutes, even with Fast Pass. We were there before they opened, and they opened a few minutes late, not significantly, but they opened at haunt time, basically. I mean, I've never known a haunt that opens exactly in the millisecond.
No.
That they say they're going to open. That's not new by any stretch. So that was annoying. And then when they did their purge thing, they did the emergency broadcast signal, which, heads up, technically that's illegal. I know it's like a not enforced law, but technically playing that tone when it's not actually the emergency broadcast signal is illegal. And I mean, I don't know. I think it was taken from the movie The Purge. I've never actually seen any of the Purge films.
Yeah, we really should watch part of the series because it was filmed.
Filmed down the road from us.
Yeah. Yes, their actors were in our bar all the time.
Yeah.
It was annoying.
So yeah, we actually probably should watch it because, like I said, we paid for it in our own way. We put up with it. But anyways, the actors left the stage and just completely jumped the rail and ignored the people in the
Fast Pass area,
Fast Pass line. So that was interesting. That was a choice.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened here. I didn't see anything, but there was a teenage girl, clutching her arm who was escorted by non-costume staff back and looked like she was crying and had hurt herself. Maybe she'd fallen down. I don't know what had happened, but that was worrisome. And one of the frustrations was getting her out was a little bit difficult because they have these incredibly high, incredibly heavy guardrails to deal with an issue of cutting in line.
Right.
And they have a big sign that says, "You cut, you're out." So apparently, I take that to mean that they have not cracked their throughput issues and that they're still running insanely long lines, because we were at another attraction the next day with a very long wait time and no cutting.
Yeah.
Not even the faintest issue of it.
No.
In fact, people were quite the opposite in trying to avoid cutting at any and all costs.
Right.
So anyways, as for the haunt itself, it is frustrating. Parts of it were decorated immaculately. Mm-hmm. Parts of it were not.
Yeah.
And I know that this is a movie prop warehouse place.
Right.
But anyways, some of it was immaculate, some of it was not. But the frustrating bit for me was the actors.
Yeah. There was a big misuse of actors.
Yeah. Actors
huge.
Were literally doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, there was a person laying on a gurney pretending to be a dummy.
Yeah, her role could have been handled. exactly the same by a static prop, not even an animatronic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she has mobility issues and that's all she's able to do, but if not, that
Well,
is a serious.
well, if she has mobility issues, she can still probably, I'm assuming if she's going to be in the haunt acting, she can talk, she can interact, she can say things,
No.
Use as a haunt actor, your words are often your most powerful weapon.
Yeah. Well, and in the next room, there was another person just sitting there, like they were in a child's outfit in
Yeah.
a child's room, so they were rocking back and forth, but they didn't like do anything. There was no scare,
and there was no, and you might think, oh, well, they're the distract for the startle.
Yeah.
There was no startle.
No.
That was the entirety of the room, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really odd.
And I feel bad because I'm the one that's always saying not all of your actors should be scare actors. Some have to be distract actors, some have to be background, but some do. And we went through with a group of, I think, 5 or 6 others who were very, very getting good scare reactions when the actors were trying.
Yeah. Yeah, we had 4 people in front of us.
Yeah, so we heard the reactions, we saw the reactions when actors did try. And there was one clown actor, she was great. She was very interactive and engaging. There were people there that were doing it, but not nearly all of them. I mean, it felt like a haunt that had too few actors, except they clearly had a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, they did, and a lot of them seemed to be on the younger side.
Yeah. Now, I grant we were the first group of the night, but this was not opening night for them.
No, it wasn't.
So, I don't know. It was frustrating because there were so many good opportunities, so many actors in there, and so few actively trying to scare or actively trying to aid in a scare.
Right.
Their efforts were just to be there in the space.
And how long was it for the walkthrough?
About 13 minutes. So, and the after part was very interesting.
It was.
Because they, instead of just dumping you into the wilderness like they did back in 2016, they actually have a proper gift shop. And a gift shop is the correct term because it's a mixture of merch and
gifts.
And gifts and handcrafted and a lot of various handcrafted gifts. You got a nice handcrafted bat.
Yes.
Got a t-shirt for the place.
We did.
We also picked up, interestingly enough, costumes.
Yeah. Like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen for sale at a haunt are extra costumes. Like, why?
And these were obviously costumes someone was trying to get rid of because they were $5 a pop. And we scoured them. We're thinking about our yard display next year. And we know we're either going to do Renfest or a professional wrestling themed one. So they had a lot of Renfest themed child costumes.
Yeah.
Which fit skeletons perfectly.
Right.
So.
And then if we go the professional wrestling route, they had a pink 70s tuxedo. Yeah. Which would be great for a ring announcer.
Yeah, they had some good stuff for either eventuality, and we picked up costumes for both. So that was interesting to see. We ended up spending a fair amount at the gift shop.
Yeah.
But it was also where I heard what made my heart sink.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking in there, maybe my expectations are too high, maybe going to 13th Gate, ruin this, and maybe I need to sort of refocus.
Right.
But as we were leaving, a group that had come in behind us, one teenager said to the other, I thought this was going to be something bigger.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be more.
And yeah, I mean, I can understand why they thought that. This is advertised on billboards all over the region.
Yeah, she was probably 12 or 13, and the person she was talking to was younger.
Yeah, this haunt is billed and presents itself as a mega haunt. They really do present themselves that way.
Right.
And it's not. And that's just it. I think, like, this is a situation where the marketing might need to be retooled somehow. I don't know how. But I don't know. Clearly, we weren't the only ones who left with mixed feelings. All in all, they made a lot of improvements over the big issues that we saw in 2016. You can see where they put the work in.
Yeah.
But, wow. Yeah. They need to... What I would do, honestly, if I were them, is I would tear out the guardrails completely and make that area nothing but the milling zone.
Mm-hmm.
And do like what Camp Blood and the Atlanta area haunts did, and have people get assigned a letter, and you call that letter, and then you have a very short queue line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everyone, because customers stuck in a queue line aren't spending money.
Right.
Keep them milling about, keep them in that area, keep them near the bar, keep them near the snack bar, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And keep them giving you money until the last possible second. And that also reduces, if not eliminates, cutting.
Yeah. And also just move those speakers either up into the ceiling or invest in a surround sound system.
Yeah. That is, and I feel bad for the employees that are standing there taking the tickets and have to be that close to it for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next haunt we did that night was South Bay Nightmare, which is just south of Mobile.
And we are now into all new haunts for us.
Yep.
Things we had never seen before and had no expectations.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of information from the website.
Yeah.
And that was it. South Bay Nightmare, this was a shorter haunt.
Mm-hmm.
But it was...
It still clocked in at 13 minutes.
Yeah. I was trying to find my phone so I could actually pull up all these times. But it was... Honestly, this was a fun haunt.
Yeah.
It was not the biggest or the baddest. South Bay was also 13 minutes. Same time as Terror on the Coast.
Yeah. And it was only... and it's only their second year doing this in a professional capacity.
Yeah. They've done like home haunting stuff before. I was a bit unclear on what they had done before, but they had done things before, but this was the second year. I think the biggest problem they face is the location and where it is geographically. It truly is in the middle of nowhere, inside a middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminded me a lot of trying to get to Rise the first year. Now we know where it is. Yeah,
now you know where it is. It's fine.
But that first year, we had to do a 3-point turn there, too. In the middle of a...
in the middle of a country road. It is rough. It is rough to get to. And it is, like I said, it is in the middle of nowhere, inside a middle of nowhere. This is about 30-ish minutes south of Mobile itself. Anything that would be described as Mobile to town.
Right. Yeah.
But basically, the two notes I had on this haunt as far as like concerns or problems, one was they had a blackout maze portion with a lot of tight squeezes.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever encountered this long, this style of maze.
Yeah. And there was confusion because they had real doors separating the scenes.
Yeah.
And it was unclear to us, and I suspect we're not alone, whether we opened the doors or whether the actors are supposed to control the doors.
Or we just weren't seeing where to go.
Yeah.
Because most of the haunts in the New Orleans area, it's all open pathways.
Yeah.
You see where you go that way.
If you see an open door, that's where you're headed, or open
door
frame. Really, it's not even an open door.
Yeah.
And then if you see a door frame without a door, that's where you're headed. It's very instinctual.
It is, because we've gotten in trouble for thinking that a door was a door, and it wasn't a door. It was a door to an actor area.
Yeah. In fact, we got in trouble for that in Phobia.
Yeah.
One of the first things we discovered was a door.
Yep. It's like, feel the wall. Okay.
Feel the wall.
Here's a door.
This door moved.
Pull it.
No, wrong answer.
Yeah, I get sprayed with water for that.
God damn it. That's why it was so wet, because you kept pushing on that fucking door.
Maybe.
I didn't realize. I'd forgotten about that bit. Maybe that's why I got so fucking wet.
Anyway, so yeah, if you're gonna have doors, either have,
clear instructions
at the beginning when you take the ticket, or have the actors open the doors.
We got like the first scene, and the door looked shut.
Second scene.
Oh yeah, you're right. And I thought, this is like the Boy Scout haunt we did. Or like Dead Rising in Chicago, where you have scenes that you participate and engage in, and then when it's time, or also the Asylum at Rise does this too. And when the time comes, they'll let you into the next scene. No, it's a walk-through haunt, and you're supposed to go through the doors. And like I said, that was unclear. The actors were very, very passionate.
Yes. Yes, even though we were being
Difficult.
difficult, they stayed in character and on
I will say this: the character of Granny,
yeah, in the queue
in the
line.
queue line acting, and also after
Yeah.
area two, had a little meet and greet time with Granny after.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite character from the
Yeah.
strip.
Yeah. They were
Easily.
a hoot.
Granny was a hoot. I really enjoyed that character a lot. They managed to go for a creepy old person vibe that did not feel like it was perverted in any way or a slander to old people.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
It did not feel like it was offensive to anyone. It felt actually really fun and really nice. I really actually enjoyed the Granny a lot. They also had a great section, a great after area with mini donuts and a small merch booth.
Right.
And so trying to turn it into something of a hangout scene, some picnic tables. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I was really glad. And one of the things I liked was it felt passionate.
Yeah, and there were a lot of actors there, and we talked to Chris and Randall, the owners, afterwards, and they said that they were actually down 10 actors that night that we were there, which is amazing because there's a so it's a continuation of the haunt, but it's kind of separate.
Yeah, that trailer bit at the end is what you're talking about. Yeah. The physical, it's in trailers, the physical term for what the unit is. It's not necessarily common what the scene is, right? Not to spoil still. But
No.
it was a small, like, towed trailer.
Yeah.
And they said, like, 5 people would be in that normally. And I'm like, how the fuck do you get 5 actors and a group of customers in there?
Yeah.
Because we're a twosome, and it was tight quarters with us and 1 actor.
Yeah.
How do you get 5 actors plus, like, a group of 5 people in there?
Yeah, and that one actor was busting their ass.
Oh, man. And that goes back to the passion. I can forgive, like, technical issues, like the doors and like some of the rooms maybe really small, things like that. I can forgive a lot of those types of things if the passion is there and I'm feeling it.
Yeah, and a lot of that does come from your actors.
And it came through here. You can tell this was a haunt done by friends and family.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah. And, and they have one of, like I've talked about for a while wanting to do an upside down room because I remember it from childhood. And they had one and it was beautiful.
Yeah. It was smallish, but very well done. And like I said, a lot of their rooms and scenes are small. They're working obviously with not a huge amount of space. But yeah, what they had that was well done. I think I would take out the blackout maze, put more rooms in there, put more stuff.
Yeah.
Because the stuff they have is great. They don't need to pad time with the blackout maze.
No.
I would just take that out, put some more rooms in there, put more stuff in there, put more creativity. And yeah, I think it's honestly a fun haunt. And I was surprised at how quiet it was on a Friday night.
Yeah.
I really was. But then again, like I said, I think geography is working against them.
I do too.
I think that's the only explanation I can give because it's they definitely deserve more attention than they're getting, I think. After that, we started out with the next day at Oa Theme Park.
Yes.
With Nightmare Creatures. And I am so glad we talked to the owners and the owner's partner before we went in.
Yeah.
Because that framed everything very nicely for me. Because we found out that this haunt had to be built in 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And, if we find that out on the way in or even after, it's easier on the way in to temper our expectations.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. I probably would have figured it out on my own even if they hadn't told because...
Yeah.
Because, the haunt definitely seems like what would happen if you gave a professional haunter way too little time. And we've been to other haunts where that was the case, like the Revelation here in New Orleans, that one year it was open.
Yeah.
It was a similar situation there. So, yeah, the first section of the haunt in particular was kind of rough. It was black walls and the ropey, creepy cloth, I guess. Yeah,
it was... I am fairly certain it was supposed to look like a ship. Like it had the
LED lanterns.
The LED lanterns and the like jute rope.
Yeah.
That looks like cargo netting almost.
Yeah. And the only real, okay, A, that's not really great to look at, and B, it's really dark in there. But also, there was an issue where some of the netting that they hang in front of the path was fraying and got caught around our necks as we were walking through.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we were walking through and not running because I would have been clotheslined.
Yeah, I can easily see a kid getting clotheslined and hopefully not seriously hurt by that. It struck me as dangerous if it happened to both of us.
Yeah. That's one of the things. So whenever we did our Mardi Gras scene, that's one of the things we learned.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if you're walking through, things that are hanging down can catch your neck.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut all of those beads. Or if we kept them together, we put them up really high so that it looked like some cut, some not cut. You know?
Yeah, and so they ended up being more strings of beads than actual, like, Mardi Gras beads.
And there was a lot of this was string, like in this haunt. But yeah, with it being so dark, it was really hard to.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It's like, just avoid the cloth.
Yeah.
Can't really do that when you can barely see that where the hallway is, let alone the things hanging down in it.
Yeah.
We really couldn't see enough to avoid it.
Right.
So that was frustrating.
Yeah, there were actors saying, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "I can't find you."
Yeah, one of the first scenes involved, "Can you let me out of here?" type thing. And they probably were in a cage.
No idea.
I couldn't tell you.
Nope.
It was too dark. The second segment was a clown sequence.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, once again, all through this haunt, the actors really were dedicated.
Yeah, the actors were good. They stayed in character. They had good timing, good energy.
Yeah, and one of my favorite actor interactions was in this haunt.
Mm-hmm.
There was a girl who was, and I'd say spoiler on this, but I don't know if they do the same thing every night, so it may not be. But she was like in a wheelchair, running into the wall.
Yeah, this was before the clowns in the
this was in the
hospital.
Yeah, this was in the middle
area.
of the haunt.
Yeah,
because you had what you say was the ship. What I think of as just the blackout section. Then you had what I believe was meant to be an asylum. Well, obviously, it was meant to be an asylum/hospital. Then the clowns. Mm-hmm. And she's like tapping the wall, and then like, okay, so yeah, and I figured she was the distract for another startle, and then she just flips around in that wheelchair like that.
Yeah, it was super fast. Super cool.
Incredible speed and agility in that wheelchair. And as someone that's actually tried to learn how to use a wheelchair like that, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. That was it blew my mind how fast she was able to spin around. So that was really, really cool. So you had a lot of great actors in this who were working very passionately, working very hard. And that, in my mind, helped make up for a lot of the shortcomings in the build, which were caused by the lack of time.
Yeah, because you could see that the rooms were laid out appropriately for distract and startles, and some interesting and unique scares were placed in there, like the wheelchair girl. Yeah. So I really want to see what they do with more time.
Yeah. I really hope Oba gives them a year.
Yeah.
Just give them that building for a year. And I don't see any reason why that haunt can't be a year-round or a seasonal attraction, or for, like, you charge $26 for admission to the theme park or whatever. Why not charge an extra $5 for that during, like, the regular season and have it be like a year-round haunt, but then staff it up during the actual Halloween season and then make it its own attraction then?
Well, I would make it more expensive in the off season, but that's just me.
Well, I'm just thinking it could be an add-on of some stripe to the theme park. And honestly, the pricing, that's not important. I just think it'd be a great add-on for the rest of the theme park.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And if you are going, you do not have to buy a ticket to the theme park to go to the haunted house. We almost didn't go because we couldn't find that answer.
Yeah. We went because luckily the haunt that we were going to next was close. But yeah, we went not knowing if we were actually going to this. We had just decided we would not buy a ticket to the theme park and the haunt.
Yeah.
Did not have to. So that's something that's not clear on the site, not clear in any of the marketing. But now you know. And it was 7.5 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not a very long haunt. But like I said, you had a lot of very passionate actors. Another piece of advice I would give is this is one of the haunts. Fast Pass is definitely worth it.
Yes, definitely.
It's actually not much of a price increase.
No.
And it will save you so much goddamn time.
Yeah.
Because that line was incredibly long.
Yeah.
So apparently they're doing pretty well for themselves. After that, we went to Living Dead Haunt at the Baldwin County Fairgrounds.
Yeah, this one's going to be hard to talk about.
Yeah, I made a joke on the way in because we were talking about the Revelation. Because about haunts that didn't get enough time to really do the setup they wanted to do. And basically, you called it the Inflatable Haunted House.
Yeah. And
it was actually the haunted house in the Inflatables warehouse.
Yeah.
But I immediately got this vision in my head of a haunted house using like a bounce castle or something like that. And then we rock up, and this actually is it.
At least partial.
Yeah. About a third of it. Because what it is basically 3 separate buildings, structures.
We'll call them structures.
Connected loosely, connected with paths loosely between them. The main issue I had with Living Dead was that it was impossible to tell where to go for much of the haunt.
Yeah.
Literally impossible.
Yeah, because we walked through the first section, which had one of my favorite scares that I've seen.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a scare. It was a actor saying, you know, they're going to come and get me. They're going to come and get me. Show me the way out or something like that.
Yeah.
And then somebody actually picked her up and football ran her out of the room.
Tackled her and, scooped her up, basically.
Exactly.
Not tackled. Scooped her up and disappeared elsewhere into the haunt. It was pretty well done. And the first sequence was very, very dark. Very difficult to see where to go. And then when we left the room, it was confusion.
Yeah, because we thought we'd made it through the maze and there was an exit. So we went out the exit, but then we're like, oh, this is cordoned off because you saw a white tent in front of you, not the flap of the tent, a sidewall, barrels to your right.
And it looked like an actor hangout area.
Yeah, a chain link fence to your left. I'm like, oh, obviously we went the wrong way.
But no, we try to go back in and try to find the right way, and we're told, no, you had it right.
Yeah.
And that you're supposed to go through the black fabric hanging down.
Around the corner.
Around the corner, yeah.
You couldn't see it from where you exited.
And there was no signage saying this way or whatnot.
Or a person instructing you.
Yeah, a lot of this could easily be solved with a few arrows.
Yeah.
Because in the clown sequence, and clown sequences were one of the themes of the Alabama trip.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but they were everywhere.
I think only haunt I don't think had significant clown presence was South Bay Nightmare.
Yeah.
I think they were the only ones. Everywhere else did. So, this is something you can solve with a few areas. But once we got to the clown area, they actually had this way to the party. They actually had these little...
Yeah.
And they made it part of the theme. And it looked organic and it looked fine. And once again, the actors carried this haunt. Obviously, when you're one third of your haunt is in an inflatable bounce house that's dark.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the theming. It's not going to be the...
And to be clear, the walls were inflated.
Yeah.
Not the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point.
We didn't bounce through a bounce house, although that would be fun. It's not
also probably going to trash our ankles.
Yeah, exactly.
But regardless, we got the actors carried this. Yeah, really. Once again, the passion and the creativity, and that's one of the things between this haunt in particular, I think took me back to an era of haunted houses that we haven't seen in a long time. This is going back to my childhood. This is going back to the 80s. This is going back to, haunted houses we used to go to at fairgrounds. The very first time I was in something that could be reasonably considered to be a haunted attraction was a JC haunt at a county fair. And it was, that one was very different than this, but it had the same kind of improv build, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely felt like a charity haunt. I don't know if it was or not, but it felt like it. It felt like these are just people who are getting together to have fun.
Yeah.
And raise a little money.
And having fun. I think they were definitely having fun.
Yeah.
I would definitely say they were having fun. That came across to me. And then from there we had... sorry, go ahead.
I'm going back real quick to Nightmare Creatures. I don't know where they got their clown mask from, because you were just mentioning clowns again. But they had some of the best clown masks I've seen, because they had light up elements on the top, which was really cool, especially in the dark background. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Now going on to the...
Yeah, and I, as an actor, I don't like the light up masks.
Yeah, well, this was on top of the head.
Yeah, I know, but those are fine.
Yeah.
That actually looks cool and will not blind the actor.
Yeah. Like light up cupcakes and stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Living Dead, it was a lot of fun. Once again, the actors carried it through.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to go to these types of haunts to expect the 13th Gate style sets.
No.
You're not going there for these things. You're going there to see passionate people having fun, scaring you, and you having fun being scared by them.
Yeah.
It's such a different style of haunting, and it's not something that we get that often.
No.
I mean, it just isn't. It's taking us back to the past. The last haunt we actually went to,
and we'll get to why in a minute.
Coming back to this, was the Dark Woods. This haunt was really popular.
Yeah. There was a very long line.
Even with, when pre-purchased our tickets, it was a 30 to 40 minute wait for us. And here, stark contrast to the 34 minutes we waited at New Orleans Nightmare,
Yeah.
they had some pretty good queue line entertainment going on.
They did. They had this giant clown thingy. Once again, clowns with the head bobbing is one of the shoulder puppets. And then they had a crass character. I mean, he was just like, he was
so weird because Crass is a good way to put it, but he wasn't vulgar.
No, not vulgar. Like, because there were lots of kids in this haunt.
Yeah, this but, weirdly enough, as far as the attendees of the haunt, this probably had the youngest.
Yeah.
This had a lot of young, very, very young people.
Yeah.
But he was
like calling people on their bullshit. And
yeah, like he was definitely ribbing on people very hard.
Yeah,
but he was genuinely funny while doing it, and so I really enjoyed watching him work. He didn't interact with us much directly,
no,
but we got to watch him work and watch what he was doing, and yeah, that turned the 30 to 40 minute wait from a major annoyance to just a mild setback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what good queue line entertainment does. We actually did not completely hate having to wait so long. And the problem is, once again, they're murdering their own throughput.
Yeah. And we were lucky because as two people and with two people behind us, they were looking for a group of 4 to pull up to the front. So we got to skip like 10 people in front of us.
Yeah.
Which is... that has its own issues. We've talked about that before. Yeah,
there's no good solution there.
No.
Because you don't want to send a group in 1/3 full, which would have been the option.
Right.
But also allowing people to skip to make sure the group is full creates its own irritants, especially if you're with one of those larger groups that get skipped.
Yeah.
So it's good and bad. Now, this was easily the longest haunt we did all season so far. It was 27 minutes. The 13th Gate, by contrast, was 26 minutes walk through.
Yeah.
So it was the longest haunt. But I can see why they're killing their throughput. I mean, the first thing is they have the local sheriff, constabulary. I don't know if he was a sheriff or a police officer or what, but he was local law enforcement official. Mm-hmm. Telling you the rules of the haunt. This is a firehouse haunt, apparently fire department haunt, apparently in close conjunction with the local police departments. But he explained the rules in great detail and great time.
Yeah. Yes, they took their time with it. They were intimidating with the rules.
And the first thought was, that's to help make sure the groups are spaced out.
Yeah.
No, because there are several points in the haunt where you have to collide with the group in front of you and probably behind you as you have to queue up to cross a bridge or go into the next scene or whatever.
Yeah, and I think there were 3 bridges total.
Yeah. And mind you, I mean, overall trail prep was good.
Yeah.
You do have to climb some fairly steep slopes,
Yes.
both up and down. But they did a good job prepping the trail. I didn't like trip on roots or have any problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had very little trouble seeing the trail. It wasn't as well prepped as like Waterloo was.
Right.
Go back and see what we thought about Waterloo.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still very good.
Yeah, well, and they lit the trail with tea lights, which I feel very bad for the person who has to go through and collect them all and either turn them off or turn them on.
Yeah, that's a hell of a job.
Yeah.
I do not envy that job.
No.
Maybe snort. But yeah, there was one sequence in there in which it's unclear because you're supposed to crawl into these pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And my stupid ass thinks, oh, I've seen this gimmick before. You go in, you crawl for a few feet, come out the other side, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I can handle that. That's not a bad problem for me. No, it was probably about 100 linear feet of pipe in a zigzag, so you're feeling your way in the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find out. Luckily, they put down like puzzle mats so that my hands and knees weren't totally erect, and the pipes were big enough that I could crawl, like on hands and knees and hands and toes even if I wanted to. I didn't have to like belly crawl or elbow crawl or anything like that. I could as comfortably as I could crawl, I could crawl. But yeah, someone with back issues and hip issues, that was probably not the wisest approach, which is why you, ever the wise one.
Well, so I was looking at the tunnel skeptically,
Mhm.
which is why I'm not talking about what happened in the tunnel, because what happened in the tunnel apparently stays in the tunnel. 'Cause
Except for the part I just told.
Exactly. But I was not in the tunnel, because I looked at it skeptically, and the actor's like, okay, you come with me, because we'll make him go through, and then we'll all laugh at him at the other side.
Well, and the thing is, we were teamed up with a mom and a teenage son.
Right.
And you and the mom apparently went around.
Yeah.
And so me and the son are in the tunnels.
Yes.
And then we go out into a whiteout maze.
Mm-hmm. Which is where I just went directly into.
Yeah, and then I found my way through that whiteout maze fairly quickly and fairly easily. Apparently he didn't do as well.
Yeah.
Because he was out of the tunnel. He was right behind me leaving the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
I yeeted myself in the tunnel. He was right behind, and he kept pace. But apparently he did not find his way through the whiteout maze as fast as I. And I guess that's just my instinct. I see the claustrophobia tunnel, pop through it, and then there you are, and there's his mom and everyone else from our group hanging out. So yeah, that, I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm kind of two minds on this. On one hand, I really do like, this was a fun trail hunt with a lot of different elements.
Yeah.
There was a facade of a mansion on fire.
Right.
That was really, really good.
It was really pretty.
That would belong in just about any haunt anywhere. I mean, if that were like at like Haunted Overload or something like that, I would not be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a good facade. It looked amazing at night. But then you go into it, and the inside, quote unquote, is not as impressive.
It's just weird because you're staying in the hallway and you look into full rooms that are decorated and everything with actors, but you're not supposed to go into them, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, what they could have done is what I know 13th Gate does a lot is you go in one door and you come out another door in that room, and you kind of zigzag down the hall, and you have the hall there as your reference point.
Yeah.
But you're only crossing the hallway. You're actually making your lateral movement in the rooms. That would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like this is weird thing where you're looking into these rooms and there's not actors in them. Most of them, at least. It's just weird. I know it's realistic. It's how houses are laid out.
Yeah.
But it's still weird in a haunt.
Yeah, because it feels like it's wasted space.
It does, and that's exactly it. It feels like you've built and decorated these rooms, and I don't get to go in them. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I only kind of get to look in them.
Yeah.
Because you don't really get to look in them all that effectively either. Honestly, you're looking through a door frame.
Yeah, and then after the house, there was a place where they split up our group to 3 and 3
Yeah.
into this trailer maze thing.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it was a really tight, really small maze.
Yeah. And this was something a lot of haunts had, either intentionally or unintentionally. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, I don't think Living Dead, for example, intended to have a tight blackout maze. They just kind of did because of the structure.
Yeah.
But this was a deliberate build.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
basically, you had to turn sideways in it, and you were compressed from both sides. And yes, I am a bigger person, but Jonathan also was touching on both sides.
yeah, and I'm straight-sized.
Yeah.
And also, I'm on the short side of tall, as I like to refer to myself. I stand 6 feet even. So I was like having to crouch in places and feeling stuffed. So yeah, and I guess the thing is this: overall, in the moment, I was kind of feeling mixed about it. But looking back on it with a few days of hindsight, it was actually a very good experience. But I do wish we could get rid of these blackout mazes and this type of stuff you got to squeeze through.
Yeah.
And I would have to caution anybody with even the slightest mobility issue.
Right.
Don't go.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts of the trail that are very difficult to navigate.
And between that and the sideways blackout maze, the tunnels that you may end up crawling through, and all this other stuff, there are a lot of places that if you have any mobility issues at all, you're going to struggle, if not find it impossible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be my thing to say about it.
Yeah, but otherwise it is fun, and they had a nice little area that you exited into with food and snacks and an art vendor.
Yeah, and we're already running like way long on this episode. That's fine.
Sorry
about that. Just to look at it as getting more haunt weekly. But the final haunt we tried to go to was a haunt known as Sweet Dreams in downtown Mobile. Now, there were some significant problems here. Some of them I'll take blame for, but some of them I think the haunt needs to address. The big issue we had was finding the goddamn place.
Yeah.
The police had blocked off the entire block, basically.
Yeah.
The haunt is on. And the result was, because of the way where it's situated, we could not find a place to park and get out. And it wasn't that there were cars everywhere.
No.
The neighborhood was dead.
Yeah, we didn't see a parking lot for it.
Yeah.
So we thought we were in the wrong place. It's like, usually police blocking off roads in October means that there's a haunt nearby.
Yeah. So we ended up just parking in a random side street nearby and walking.
But it took us about 15 minutes.
20 minutes to find.
Yeah.
We were there for a while, in the area for a while, before we found parking and got there. And when we got there, they were packing up and closing. Apparently they closed at 11. We were there at like 11:08.
Yeah.
And they were shutting down. And, okay, but then comes the really confusing part. Our information was that they closed at midnight. And it turns out, and this is something we learned pretty much at this moment, that there is another haunt with the same name in South Carolina.
North Carolina.
Well, one of the Carolinas. I think it was South Carolina. I think they said North Carolina, but I think it's actually South Carolina.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
But it's in the Carolinas, regardless. And here's the problem. You search for Sweet Dreams, even in some cases mentioning Alabama, you get the South Carolina haunt.
Yeah.
And the address is not very prominent on either site. So I literally bought online tickets for a haunt a time zone away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can buy tickets
You
online.
can, actually. They do sell online tickets. I found the right site and checked. You can. But the thing is, their Google Maps presence doesn't list their website.
Right. It does not.
And that is frustrating because that's how I plan trips.
Yeah.
Everything is planned within Google Maps. And so the official site was not attached to the Google Maps profile. It was really, really frustrating. I have planned hundreds of haunt visits, and this has never happened.
Yeah.
Never. And this season alone, I might be planning visits to both the Dark Woods and Dark Woods. A haunt in Natchitoches and Dark Woods, and a haunt near Mobile, the Dark Woods.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, and I did not realize that I bought tickets for the wrong haunted house.
Right.
And thusly also had wrong information.
Yeah.
Because the haunt was not open till midnight. We would have changed the structure of the trip pretty drastically if we had known that. We might not have made it. We might have chosen a different haunt. We might have chosen a different approach.
Right.
But, yeah, honestly, I'm not mad about the money.
No.
The money doesn't bother me. I mean, I'm happy to support haunters. And the fact that a random haunt in the Carolinas got $50 from me does not upset me.
No.
In the least. What does upset me, though, is that the owners knew of this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they immediately knew it. 10 seconds for them to figure out what the confusion was.
Yeah.
And haven't really done anything about it.
Yeah.
Because they could take over their Google Maps profile, they could do SEO work, or they could change their name to something more unique. I don't know who was named first. I don't really care. The other haunt is clearly eating your lunch when it comes to name recognition.
Yeah.
So you lost the fight either way. But they could do things to reduce this problem that they have not done.
Right.
And that is what I find frustrating. It's like I said, I've planned hundreds of haunt visits. This has never happened. But then again, usually haunts do a lot of work to ensure that they're attached to their Google Maps profile, that all the information is correct on all their pages and their presences. And yeah, honestly, that was really frustrating, and it was a very shitty way to end our evening, to be honest.
And our trip.
And our trip, yeah. So, I mean, I take blame for making the mistake, because I did. I made a mistake. But I also I'm still upset, though, that they aren't taking greater steps to eliminate what is apparently a common enough mistake that they knew exactly what happened.
Yep.
That is way too common. It should have required some Sherlock Holmes shit to figure this out. It didn't.
No.
So anyways, that's it for that. That ends the trip and sets us up for the haunt visits this week. And we've got a lot we're going to. So yeah, I know we ran long. I knew we probably would too.
Yeah.
But honestly, the takeaway from me from the Mobile trip was you said something that I thought was interesting, was that it seemed like the haunts in this region lived in a bubble. Because they all have very similar elements to one another, and they were not pulling from the larger haunt community as much.
Yeah.
I got that feeling too.
Yeah, and we're gonna do a whole episode on this, I think, at some point.
Bursting your haunt bubble, so to speak. I think that might be the title.
That is the title.
That's the title of the episode now. Yay!
It's the title I have in my head.
So yeah, it's really frustrating. But here's the thing. There were a lot of haunts that were very fun.
Yeah.
And they were fun because of passionate actors, passionate owners, even if they were not even if they weren't the biggest or the most beautifully laid out or whatever, they made up a lot just by the passion and fun. That's it. And taking a bit of a time machine effect, taking us back to an era of haunting that we don't get to see that often. You don't get to see this kind of JC charity haunting that often anymore.
No.
You just don't get to do it, and a lot of the haunts in this region brought back that. But yeah, even though Mobile is only a couple hours away, I don't know if we're going to make a trip back out that way anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to.
I don't really feel the need. And that's even without having seen Sweet Dreams.
Yeah.
I really don't feel the need to. It's just... It's interesting. There's some really great Back to the Past, but there's nothing in this region that I think warrants making that drive next year or the year after.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Now, if you're in the area,
you're in the area.
Go.
Support your community haunters.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't think this is one that you should be traveling to see.
Yeah.
How's that? Go support your local haunters. If you are local to that region, you certainly have some good options and some fun options.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a town to go far afield to, yeah, I would go to Atlanta, go to Chicago, go to Ohio.
Come to New Orleans.
There's tons of great places out there. I really don't think the Mobile area is one you need to go that far for. But if you're in the area, you've got a lot of fun to be had.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. So on that note, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up quickly because we are way over time here. It's maybe the longest episode we've ever done. Check out more Haunt Weekly at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, and youtube.com/Haunt Weekly. Also, wherever you get your finer podcasts from. But until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week with more haunt visits.